Today we bring you back into another interesting discussion surrounding the topic of reparations for African Americans. Now, I know we did another video concerning this discussion, but before you click away, in today's video we're bringing you insights and some overlooked statements that have been made on this issue. And after doing some digging, did you know that Abraham Lincoln was the only president that put his life on the line for black folks concerning reparations? And in today's discussion, you're going to have a comprehensive understanding of what happened to the $100 million reparations plus more that were promised to African Americans. Like I said, we recently did a similar discussion where we discussed the Asian minorities who got their reparations and the people of Israel who continue to do so up to date. So you might see some videos that you might have watched before, but please don't click away. Our mission is to bring you awareness to topics and discussions that are vital but have been sidelined by the powers that be. So with that being said, let us begin.
$183 million in compensation for Holocaust victims and their heirs. Not just the victims themselves, because people tell us you were never a slave. The victims and their heirs. The New York has gotten money for the victims of the Holocaust and their heirs. Right? $183 million. Why are you, Mr. Whitlock, not protesting that? Because you said you don't agree with reparations, and it creates a. Have you told that to your Jewish brothers and sisters? I agree that the Jewish community should chase their money down. Go get it, Mr. Whitlock. Have you protested that? Have you ever gone on and said the survivors and their heirs need to get the money back because it breeds entitlement? I'm just wondering why everybody's so anti-ADOS. Is it the case that maybe you're just race? Maybe you're a race man who hates black people, ADOS people. Maybe that's who you are, because it does not make any sense if you hate reparations. And I never hear none of y'all who hate reparations. The idea of reparations is gonna make us lazy. Somehow money and wealth only makes us lazy. Everybody else can go get money and wealth all day long, but for us it's gonna make the need lazy. They don't need no money. Why is money only a bad thing? Why is it only when we're older debt it's gonna make us lazy? You can always find some little step and fetch it to come out. Well, y'all don't need no money. It's just gonna make y'all lazy. Y'all don't need no money. We don't need no money. It's just gonna lay in bed all day. Wait a minute. How come you don't say that to other groups when they go get their reparations? Reparations is a tried and true way to do redress, and it's not our fault that we didn't get it when it was old, because y'all just wouldn't give it. We asked for it. You said you would, and you didn't. Even with Tulsa, we got people who are still alive from the Tulsa massacre, and you won't get them anything. I don't hear you, Jason Whitlock, saying, well, they really want here to get them. You ain't saying nothing. Why are y'all so quiet when other people get? Let me tell you something. Holocaust survivors are getting $1.4 billion in 2024. So, Mr. Whitlock, if this is how you feel about reparations, if you feel that reparations make people lazy and it make them not want to do nothing and it creates a sense of entitlement, if you believe that people are not going to do anything because they're old, how come you won't get on TV? I want you to get on TV, Mr. Whitlock, if you're not a spineless cow man, if you're not a spineless race. I want you to get on TV and say, no, I don't think Germany should do it. I don't think New York should do it. As a matter of fact, Mr. Whitlock, I want you to take a protest sign down to New York, and then maybe if you are consistent on this issue, we will take you seriously. If you are consistent on this issue, right? Maybe we will take you seriously. But from what I see, you don't say this to everybody. These are the questions you have to ask people, because this has happened in this country and other countries. Like New York is chasing down money, and the house didn't happen in this country, right? We have in this country, though, we have also had Japanese reparations, right? We have had Japanese reparations in this country, and I don't hear Mr. Whitlock shaking his little fist at the air, talking about we shouldn't have did that. Oh, he don't care about that. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about his own people. He ought to be ashamed. His mama ought to be ashamed of him. Like your parents ought to be ashamed and disgusted. Well, who is your daddy? Like, who are these people that raised you to get on TV and talk about what we shouldn't have? Who are these people? Who are your people? Used to be a time you could say, who is your mama? Who is your daddy? Right? Racial terror.
Most people already know that the German government pays Jewish people reparations for World War II and the Holocaust. But did you know that they pay in many different ways? They pay any Jewish person that had a business during World War II that was destroyed. They pay them to this day, and they have no time limit on when they plan on stopping. To this day, the government pays for it. Just think about that. One of the biggest conservative arguments against reparations for African Americans is who's going to pay for it? Well, I think Germany has proven that the government pays for it. Since it was the government that sanctioned and allowed some things to happen, they feel the responsibility for paying for it. Yeah, but it's the people that pay for the government in taxes. That's who's paying for it. Then it just comes down to the people. That's what their argument usually is. But here's the thing. We pay taxes no matter what. All it would be is simply a reallocation of that tax money that we already pay. It wouldn't go up at all.
The only reason anybody would be against reparations is if they don't feel that this country has anything to repair in how it has treated and continues to treat black folks.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea.
First off, Mitch, you were alive 100 years ago. Look at you. Second, reparations are not just about slavery. They're about repairing the incessant harm that has been done to black people in this country since we were stolen and brought here, and that does not end with slavery. These people act like Jim Crow was just like a minor inconvenience. It was violence. And I don't know if y'all been looking around lately, but basically reparations should be owed for what was done like 15 minutes ago in this country.
We've, tried to deal with our original sin of slavery by fighting a civil war.
If the Civil War was really about righting the wrongs of slavery, then we wouldn't have all these Confederate flags and Confederate statues still just confederating around to this day. To this day!
By passing landmark civil rights legislation.
These people wake up every morning to undo civil rights legislation.
We've elected an African-American president.
Now you know you ain't vote for Barack. We need to become reparationists. We need to make preparations for reparations. And I say that comes with us first making reparations a part of our culture. This should be a part of our lifestyle. And we should be demanding that reparations be given to us by whoever is in the presidency and by whoever wants to be president. And also by our local and state governments. And I don't think that means just waiting to the last minute of an election and saying that we're not going to vote for you unless you give us reparations. Nah. We should be getting behind candidates who already believe in this. And all you white folks who want to be down, baby, you better be reparationists too. That's the new question for your white friends. Do you believe black people should get reparations? See, reparations are not a capital gain. They're an ethical practice. Because in a society where advancement is determined by money, the only way to correct the systematic hindrance of that advancement is by providing money. Reparations are not some far-reaching thing that have never been figured out before. We need to stop looking at reparations as something we need to imagine. Consider them as something that is very real that needs to happen. What we need to imagine is what we are going to do with the reparations to make sure that our community and ourselves are taken care of.
Germany has finally come full circle. After committing a genocide against the Jewish people during the Holocaust, Germany vowed to always stand by and protect the Jewish people. And as a part of that, they aligned themselves with the State of Israel. The genocide Zionist government of the State of Israel exported arms and gave them political support. In fact, Germany is its second largest arm exporter behind the United States, and their political support for Israel rivals that of ours. But now Germany is going to have to answer for supporting Israel. The country of Nicaragua has started a case against Germany in the International Court of Justice, and they're holding the hearing soon. In all these cases, they start off with voting on emergency provisions, and as part of these emergency provisions, Nicaragua has asked that they vote on these two provisions: that Germany stop all arms exports to Israel, and that Germany resume funding the UNRWA, which Germany has already resumed funding. But what Germany hasn't done is stop sending weapons that they're using against Palestinians. Nicaragua is setting a good precedent for other governments. Other governments should be scared of being taken to the International Court of Justice when they back a agenda. People like Joe Biden should be afraid of ending up there.
I'm gonna try to do this in 2 minutes and 20 seconds so I don't have to do two parts. Somehow, the governor of New York found $183 million to give to the victims and beneficiaries of Holocaust victims. This is your reminder that the Holocaust did not occur on American soil. However, they found $183 million to give to the victims and the beneficiaries. Walk with me through history for a moment. On Juneteenth of 2019, the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing on slavery and reparations. This man fought tooth and nail against the case for reparations in 2019. It is on video. The hearing is 3 hours and 19 minutes long. Watch it, because he and people like Candace Owens were fighting tooth and nail to say that black people do not deserve reparations because it is unconstitutional. even citing his adopted black son as a reason for it. Now back to the governor and what they did in New York. They, meaning the Department of Financial Services, Holocaust Claims Processing Office, they have a whole office for Holocaust claims. They assist Holocaust victims with their heirs recover stolen assets, and they have helped secure and return over $183 million in compensations to victims and their heirs for bank, insurance, and other material losses. Additionally, through the initiative, the Department of Financial Services has facilitated settlements involving over 250 cultural objects since its inception in 1997. They have been doing this since 1997. Which means they structurally put something together to ensure that they can be compensated for a loss that occurred in another country that did not occur in ours to get reparations. At what point will y'all stop playing in our faces?
The same people who claim to not understand why black people deserve reparations are the same people who have their hand out every 2 weeks waiting for their check. Because you have an expectation to be compensated for your labor. And you've only worked like 40 hours a week. Imagine working for your entire life from dusk till dawn, never being compensated, treated like chattel. And the only people to ever be compensated were slave owners. So why pretend not to understand black people's justification for why they deserve reparations for the hundreds of years of forced labor placed upon our ancestors? We haven't even touched Jim Crow, redlining, segregation, mass incarceration, much of which is still happening to this day. So where's the disconnect?
Let me go ahead and present to you what has been down on the ground so far. This report is called Should America Pay Reparations? The history is complicated, but the overall principle is simple. Slavery helped the United States become a formidable economic power. It had the opposite effect on enslaved people and their descendants, stripping them of wages, property, civil rights, and freedom. Anything that begins with, oh boy, it was complicated, just know that the results are negative. But they seem to be acknowledging the fact that slavery had an enormous benefit for the US though, since the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed and ratified in 1865, ending legal slavery in the United States. No sustained attempt has been made right to this disparity, lending additional weight to the strong case that reparations will still be beneficial today. So reparations would compensate Black Americans for the lost wages and suffering of their ancestors, American slave laborers. In this report, they are pretty much agreeing that reparations should be paid, because without slavery, the US wouldn't have been built. The US received an enormous acknowledged economic boost from slavery. What that implies is the world domination and the power that we know of the US to be today is as a result of the cheap labor. You're gonna find out that slavery was an industry that amassed billions and billions of US dollars, and corporations today have rebranded corporations that used to be slave farms. And because of the millions or the billions that were amassed previously in slavery, they're still standing to date. Even these same institutions should be paying reparations to Black folks, but it doesn't happen. Subsequent biased policies, including segregation, labor discrimination, redlining, mass incarceration, have disadvantaged Black Americans, preserving a racial wealth gap. The one federal reparations attempt was discontinued after President Lincoln was unalived. More than 150 members of Congress have supported the bill to create a commission to study the issue. A slight majority of Americans favor this approach as well. So Abraham Lincoln is the only president in history that has ever brought awareness, or the only president that really wanted to help in this cause. Perhaps that's one of the reasons as to why he got unalived, because history doesn't really give us the details as to why he got unalived. There are a lot of cases surrounding this figure known as Abraham Lincoln. Some people say that he wasn't completely white, and palm coloreds didn't like that. You know, he was the only president, or the first president, who was pretty much brown. But there are a lot of things surrounding this figure, and one of them is the fact that he was fighting for reparations for Black folks. Native Americans and Japanese internment victims received federal reparations. Or Japanese people, like we've heard in the other video, have received some form of reparations. Current proposal for federal reparations include payments to Americans who are of African descent and economic development investments in the Black community. Now, there are a lot of things that are surrounding these points, because the same people that are supposed to pay those reparations are the same people that continue to benefit from the marginalization of black folks. And perhaps that's the reason why, as far as the conversation or the discussion surrounding reparations goes, a lot of corporations, even the federal government, they are not really engaged in this discussion. Perhaps it's because they feel that they'll miss out, or if the black community becomes developed, they will no longer depend on them on certain things. Because, I think the discussion of reparations and why it is so controversial for black folks to receive their reparations is because of the controversies that surround the black community. Everything that is done in the black community pretty much reverberates throughout the United States. And I think it is the influence that they fear. They've tried pretty much to regulate black folks. They've tried pretty much to do all kinds of things to them. It's not because they just want to marginalize them. No, it is a fear, and this fear leads to a continuous suppression of black folks. Sports were dominated by black folks. Music and entertainment was pretty much dominated by black folks. Imagine waking up one day and you are a palm color person, and all of a sudden media representation is just covered by black folks everywhere. You look to your left, it's black folks doing this. You look to your right, successful black folks or women from the black community. How would you feel as a palm colored? I think that's what they fear. They fear the power. They fear the capability of the melanated individuals, because you've suppressed these people, and through the little that they have, they've managed to do a lot. I think that's where the concern for reparations goes. On March 15, 2021, the Jesuit Conference of Canada and the United States pledged $100 million in reparations for descendants of enslaved people once held by the order. So that's the $100 million that I was talking about, but it is believed that it hasn't been paid. The only amount that has been paid so far is $15 million US. It wasn't paid in full. It was paid. There are a lot of controversies surrounding the payment of reparations, and some institutions have also offered some sort of education to black folks who are descendants of enslaved people. Evanston, Illinois made history on March 22, 2021 as the first US city to implement a $10 million reparations program. Additionally, on April 19, 2021, the House Judiciary Committee moved forward with H.R. 40, an act to explore and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. On June 29, 2023, California's Task Force to Study and Develop Reparations Proposals delivered its 1,100-plus page final report to the legislature, calling for a comprehensive reparations plan for African Americans in California. And that's where the controversy started. I think these people revisited the books. I think they saw the capability of the black folk. It's one of those things, like I've mentioned, you see what this person is able to do with the little, so you get scared and you freak out. Imagine if we were to give them all these kind of resources, what would they do? They would want opportunities in politics. They would want opportunities in business and entrepreneurship. They would want to build their own things, and control will be taken away from us and put into their hands. And I think this is what the palm color fears.